It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report. Use hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to get those questions featured on the show. If you're wondering where are these questions from, they're from our live show on Monday, June 24th. And if you want to see more mailbags, Mount Raider Moore asked me, the Silver and Black Hills asked me, click that like button, because as long as these videos keep getting good like numbers, around 1,000, we're going to keep making them here on the Raiders Report. Today's mailbag is presented by Panda Sups. If you're trying to get in better shape this summer, go to pandasups.com, or you can go to chatsports.com/mystack if you want to get the exact stack of protein products, BCAAs, the right aminos. If you're like, Mitch, I have no idea what any of that means. Bottom line, the products that I use from Panda Sups. If you want to know what I use for the summertime, chatsports.com/mystack. Usually it's like $200, but if you use code MyStack, you can actually get it right now for about $103. I know, it's a hell of a deal. Let's go to Nathan Wolf. What would you say the percentage is if Penix was there that we draft him? I actually think that it would be still between Michael Penix Jr. and Brock Bowers. I do think that the Raiders would have leaned towards drafting Penix. Now, if you were to ask Telesco and Antonio Pierce, they probably would say that no matter what, we were going to take Brock Bowers. I do know for a fact that the Raiders were never going to trade up for Penix because they even thought that 13 was a little bit too high to select him originally. But now I think when you see how the draft went, I would imagine that they would probably have taken Michael Penix over Brock Bowers. What up, Cameron? I'm happy we have Bowers. I'm happy that we have Bowers, too. I mean, Bowers, to me, is a legit tight end, wide receiver threat. And when you really think about the Raiders' entire plan, right? And they've kind of stuck to this plan of they went out, they got Getsy, they're trying to build an offense. They knew they wanted to do a lot of 12 personnel, and they wanted to try to confuse defenses. With a player like Bowers, with the 12 personnel that we're going to run, we might not be the best offense, but we're going to confuse a lot of people out there, man. Mystic, when we make the playoffs, the league will know whose game this is with everybody. Saying LV, Raiders, yeah. I think that one was from Chuggs right there. I do think the Raiders are going to be a sneaky team. Hell, I put out a video earlier, I want to say 2 weeks ago, that you should bet your house on the over at 6.5 wins for Las Vegas. I mean, this is a team that hasn't finished in last place in the AFC West since 2018. They got 8 straight wins against the Broncos. They were 3-1 underneath Antonio Pierce last season against the AFC West. The Raiders don't have a sexy offense because we don't have a sexy quarterback. I mean, Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell, they're sexy, right? But I'm talking about their play on the field. Where this defense, this offense, I'm telling you right now, the Silver and Black are going to shock some people. Hell, I also put out a video of why you should put some money down on Antonio Pierce to win Coach of the Year. Let's go to my brother here, Noah Santana. Would it not be the best case scenario for Gardner Minshew to start and have AOC learn this whole year in order for him to have a chance to have the best opportunity for success? The reason why that I don't agree with this standpoint is because if Aidan O'Connell's not good enough to beat out Gardner Minshew now, then, the Aidan O'Connell experiment to me should just be done and over with. The reason why I do think that best case scenario for the Raiders is that Aidan starts is because that actually adds value then to Aidan O'Connell overall. Like, if Gardner beats out Aidan's value is done. Like, no team's ever going to give you anything for him. If Aidan goes out there and he proves that he can be the starter and that his upside is even higher than Gardner, then you can potentially have a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract with the team that they have around him. I want Aidan to be the starter. I just think that Gardner's the better QB and he's going to end up getting the job. Let's go to JC. Who makes a bigger impact for the Raiders this year, Jakobi or Brock Bowers? Oh, man, it's a hell of a question. I'll say in the stat sheet, okay, the receiver that ends up getting more numbers this season, I do think Jakobi has more receiving yards than Brock Bowers. And the reason why that I say that is because it is very difficult for a tight end in year one to put up numbers, and that's just kind of it's what it is in the NFL. And you kind of saw Mayer, you have to learn a totally different game. You also have to learn how to block. Now, they're going to line him up at slot. They're going to use him in a lot of different ways. The player that I think might have the bigger impact, like on this offense, creating more chaos, I'll actually say is Brock Bowers. But hey, you guys can let me know down below, who do you think is going to have the bigger impact for the Silver and Black? And you know what? If you're okay with it, I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's show. Type 89 for Bowers. Type 16 for Jakobi. Who's going to make the bigger impact this upcoming season for the Raiders? You could type realistically both of these numbers. I do think Jakobi's going to have more receiving yards. I also think he's going to have more targets this season. He's also going to be a big, impactful player in the running game because he's a physical receiver and, he's not afraid to get his nose dirty. But then also Bowers, I think, is going to cause more confusion. I think he's going to cause more chaos for a lot of these defensive coordinators out there. Both players, I think, are going to be somewhere around 700 receiving yards, maybe 800 receiving yards, 5-6 total touchdowns. Let's go to B-Rabe. Who has a better career? Tucker or I think you mean Jakobi Meyers. It's Jakobi Meyers, where I do think Tucker is the secret weapon for the Raiders, and he's going to be a very interesting decoy that they're going to use him a lot of. If he ends up being like the main punt returner, the main kick returner, and ends up turning into a Pro Bowler, then maybe the answer is Tucker. Maybe I'm totally underestimating these new kick return rules that we have yet to see. But just overall opportunity, usually when I get asked these questions, I bet on opportunity of which player do I think has more opportunities with the football in his hands. To me, Jakobi's going to get way more targets than Trey Tucker from top to bottom. In fact, I would be shocked if Tucker had more than 500 receiving yards this season. And if Myers doesn't get to 500, it's because he ended up getting injured, which... Again, Tucker, good player. Jakobi, though, is just going to be a bigger focal point on the offense. If you want Raiders content all year long, and I don't care if it's June, July, with the fact that we're getting Raider fans to watch this show 4 days a week when we go live just shows the dedication that the Silver and Black have. But then I also know that a lot of other people are busy. We put out videos every single day, and if there's breaking news, I got you covered. If it's a mailbag like this, I got you covered. We're going to stay interactive. No matter what, we got the videos here, and the people that I know that are watching all the time, they're a part of the Noti Gang. And the Noti Gang is the people that try to get in the comment section as soon as I drop a video. So if you're one of the first 5 people that comments on a video that I drop, you might see yourself on a future shout-out Noti Gang list. Let's go to Jacob H. What's up, man? Do you feel that Tyree is going to have a breakout year or another first-round bust from the Raiders draft office? I do think he's going to have a breakout year. And this has been a player that we've been very excited about. Chug's a little bit higher on him than I am. Now, I do think he's going to have opportunities. I hope that he plays defensive tackle and he goes out there and plays a little bit of edge. But this is a freak athlete. Like, I actually think if you were to ask Max Crosby who is the better athlete, Max Crosby or Tyree Wilson, I think Tyree Wilson is actually the better athlete. The problem is Tyree hasn't put it up here together, and he hasn't, figured out his craft yet. If you want to check out a video where I put down a lot of things, like where I'm literally saying, I'm putting the NFL on notice, I believe Tyree Wilson's going to break out. I'll do a better job after this live show to put the link for you guys right here. But if you want to check out a video I did on Tyree Wilson, why I think he's going to break out and really shock the NFL, I'm going to put that video right here. It's also going to be in the comments of today's show. Let's go to my man, Crosbula. What's going on, players? Who will be the best Raider next year and why? Also, FKC. I mean, it's Max Crosby. Max Crosby's always going to be the guy that I bet on as the best player because he's the best player on the field. I think some people want me to say Devontae because Devontae is the Raiders' second best player. He's not going to put up the numbers that a lot of people want to see. I'm going to say Christian Wilkins. I think him and Crosby are going to be a real pain in the ass for offensive coordinators next season, but we have a really talented team, and I really, truly believe that we do. We just got a few pieces we got to figure out. Quarterback, running back, got to find that other corner, and I really like where our team's headed. If you want to know what stack I'm using from Panda Sups, you're like, Mitch, what the hell are you talking about stack? Well, guess what? Panda Sups asked me, Mitch, put together a summer shred stack to get you and Raider Nation in best shape possible. And this stack usually costs about $199, but if you go to chatsports.com/mystack or click on the link that's in the description or the comments section, you can actually get this stack up on screen for about $160. But wait, there's a little bit more into that. If you also use code MYSTACK, you're going to save an additional 35% off. I actually think the last time that I looked, you can get everything that you see up here on screen. The usual cost is like $200, but if you use that link that you see down there below, and if you use code MYSTACK, you're going to be able to get all of that for about $103. It's a hell of a deal. I use the protein, the BCAAs, the fat burner, and then you get all that extra stuff, the shaker, the drawstring brag. Also on top of that, you get a little bit of the pre-workout, which I will admit, if you're sensitive to caffeine and you don't use pre-workout, one of those packets could probably last you 3 workouts. Don't just take it all in one. It will give you that feeling that ants are crawling on your skin, and I don't want that to happen to you. Shout out to Panda Sups for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's go to Lana. La na 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 na. If the Raiders still had Derek Carr, would we be a Super Bowl team? No. I know that I've said before that the Raiders, if they had a good quarterback, would be a Super Bowl caliber team. But kind of like, the argument that I'll give with Dak Prescott, I don't think Derek Carr is ever going to win a playoff game. I also don't think Dak Prescott's ever going to win a Super Bowl. Is Derek Carr a better QB than Aidan O'Connell? Yes. Is Derek Carr a better quarterback than Gardner Minshew? Yes, he is. But also, would I rather have Aidan on his contract or Derek Carr on his contract? I think you can make that an interesting debate. Would I rather have Gardner Minshew on his contract or Derek Carr on his contract? I'd rather have Minshew, and I'd rather have Aidan on their current deals. But DC, from a talent standpoint, would make us a better team. But Derek Carr is not a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and I don't think how anybody could ever say that DC is going to win a Super Bowl. So would the Raiders be a Super Bowl caliber team with Derek Carr? Give me a yes or give me a no. I'm going to sit up here and say no, because to me, Derek's not going to win a Super Bowl. If we're going to go out and we're going to find a QB, I don't want to just throw $40 million at a below average QB. If we're going to go out there and we're going to spend, you go out and spend on somebody that actually gives you a shot to win a Super Bowl. I'll say this, though. Can we stop talking about Derek Carr? Cast, Raiders, week 1 needs to hurry up and get here. I'm ready to see these opposing QBs running for their life. By the way, SPF Mitch. I hear you, Cast. Also, I was rocking your jersey earlier on today's live show, so when you sent this in, I got to show my man Cast Joey a little bit of love. I did use SPF. I used a lot of sunscreen, but this weekend I did get a little bit crispy. I got a little bit burnt from my wiffle ball days. I went 0 for 8 to start. Finished off strong, though I'm pretty sure I threw 3 innings. I would have thrown a no-hitter. Nobody's hit me in this office for wiffle ball. Ed, how do you think the running game will be while we are in 12-player personnel and the slide blocking scheme? Because if we have 7 big blockers on the line, Trey and Jakobi, Zeus versus the safety. I think that our running game with 12 personnel, I still want to see how it ends up working out with James Craig, but like the James Craig wide zone running scheme is very similar to the way like the 49ers run their running scheme. It's very similar to the way that, Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins do it. It's been very successful. It does actually lead to running back injuries quite often. I mean, you've even seen the Niners struggle with some quarterback injuries from time to time. But with our player personnel, with our offensive line, with our talent in general, I do think the Raiders are going to be more successful running the ball this season than they were last season. But that also has more to do with teams not being able to stack the boxes easily. And 12-player personnel, teams also have to respect the ability of Jakobi, Trey, Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, Devontae Adams, where they're not going to be able to stack the box. The Raiders are going to cause a lot of chaos on offense. They're going to confuse the hell out of people, man. If you want to check out my must-watch video of the week, I did a video this weekend around Max Crosby of why I think that he is the best defensive player in the National Football League, and I really want all y'all to go check it out. I'm going to put it up here, so please, 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 and I want you to share it, and I want you guys to check it out, because I also gave you this a challenge. If this video around Max Crosby hits a certain number of likes, I'm going to give away a signed Max Crosby jersey here on the Raiders Report. Let's go to Brock. What's up, Brock? Love the show with Graphic this weekend. You didn't seem excited about Shaq Lawson. Why is that? It's not that I don't really have anything against Shaq Lawson. I think Graph was just, we were talking about edge rushers and, going out and adding a defensive lineman to this team. The reason why I'm not crazy about Shaq Lawson is because I would say Jerry Hughes would be a better signing. Yannick Ngakoue, to me, would be a better signing. But as long as Emmanuel Ogbah's out there, like, we could talk about Ngakoue, we could talk about Jerry Hughes, we could talk about Shaq Lawson. Emmanuel Ogbah, with the ties that he has with his team, that's why I'm not high on Shaq Lawson, because I would just rather go out and spend the extra money and go get Ogbah. You still have the money to be able to do it. Jacob, know you covered quarterback competition. Who do you think will end up getting the starting bid, and will we make the playoffs? Love the videos, Mitch. Keep them coming. I predicted the Raiders to go 9-8 this upcoming season. I still think that Gardner is going to be the starter. I know that Jeremy Fowler reported earlier this week that Aidan has the upper hand, or the slight edge, I believe is the exact term, which Aidan should have the upper hand. He should have the slight edge. He was the guy that's, in the team like from last season. Antonio Pierce kind of gave him the edge when he said that it's his job to lose. He's going to get the first snaps out there. This is going to be a battle that goes between training camp, preseason, and I've said it probably 100 times now. I want the Raiders to name their starting quarterback a few hours before game time. I want the Chargers to prepare for both. What up, Jack? In what order do you re-sign players? Me, you're going to go Spillane, then Hobbs, then Kuntz, Merrick. Last is Diablo since all their last year of their contract. I'm not re-signing Divine Diablo. I'd let him test out the open market. To me, he's not good enough, nor has he proven that he deserves to be having a contract extension. Spillane I have on that list. I've already put out a video on this, and I've ranked the top 5, and you have 4 out of the 5 players that I talked about. But Spillane, he's somebody that I would absolutely resign. Malcolm, for me, is number 1. The problem is, if you're Kuntz, you're probably going to let this year play out, because if he hits the open market next year as a free agent and has a really good year, he's going to make a lot more money than if he just resigns right now. Solomon, what's up, my brother? What do you think about the rumors that Carr will be the Cowboys quarterback next year? To be honest, there's nothing that would make me happier. Like, it would be the ultimate troll job for the Cowboys, for one, to go to Dak to Derek Carr, which doesn't make any sense. And I really don't see why either side does it. I don't see why the Cowboys would want Derek Carr. Have I seen these rumors? No, I have not. This would be shocking, but I'll tell you this, it would make me LOL like you cannot believe, man. If I missed your question, you can always hit me up on Instagram and on Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. Please always remember that, in the offseason, we're trying to figure out everything that you guys are looking for, the type of content. If you also want to send recommendations for the type of content that you'd like to see in the offseason, you can DM me. You can also DM Chuggs as well on Twitter at Jeremy Chuggs. We really enjoy doing these mailbags. I like being able to answer these questions. It's fun to be able to do it in the offseason, to just know what the nation's thinking, to see the questions come in. And reminder, if you want more mailbags here around the Raiders, make sure you click that like button. If we get to 1,000 likes or close to 1,000, we're going to keep the mailbags rolling here. Mount Raider Moore and the Silver and Black Hills want it to happen. So if they want it to happen, please, let's make it happen.